I never thought the day my father died would mark the start of my own war. That morning, I stood beside his coffin, hands trembling, and all I could think about was how empty everything suddenly felt. But even through the ache, I noticed Evelyn, my stepmother, pretending to cry harder than anyone else. Her tears looked rehearsed, her sobs too loud. Something about her performance didn't sit right with me. My father had trusted her completely, but I'd always seen through the mask. The gentle voice, the fake kindness, the way she looked at me like I was a burden she couldn't wait to erase. A week after the funeral, Evelyn called a family meeting. Her tone was cold, businesslike. "Your father left everything in order," she said, smiling faintly. "We just need to go over some documents." My stomach twisted. I wasn't ready for this, but I followed her to my father's study. She sat behind his desk, like it already belonged to her. The lawyer arrived, and when he opened the file, Evelyn's smile widened. My name was barely mentioned. My father's estate, his company shares, even the house, were all temporarily in Evelyn's control until further verification. I froze. "Verification of what?" I asked, my voice shaking. Evelyn looked at me, her eyes glinting. "Your character, darling. Your father wanted to make sure you were responsible enough." I felt my heart drop. Responsible enough? I'd been running his charity projects for years. This was madness. And then, I realized, she'd planned this. When I walked out of that study, I swore to myself I'd find out what Evelyn was hiding, and I'd make her regret underestimating me. But I had no idea how dark her next move would be. A few days later, I started getting strange calls. Anonymous numbers. Whispered insults. Then came the rumors. At a cafe, 2 women I'd known for years avoided me, whispering behind their cups. On social media, fake screenshots started to spread. Photoshopped messages that made it look like I'd stolen money from my father's charity. My phone buzzed non-stop with hate messages. I couldn't breathe. Evelyn was ruining me. My reputation, my name, everything my father had been proud of. When I confronted her, she didn't even hide her smirk. "Oh, Amma," she said sweetly, pouring herself wine. "People believe what they see. You might want to stay quiet for a while. It'll blow over." My voice cracked. "You did this." She sipped her drink, eyes cold. "Prove it." That night, I cried until my chest hurt. Every friend I reached out to hesitated to reply. My father's business associates stopped taking my calls. Evelyn had poisoned everything. But pain has a way of hardening into purpose. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a steady heart. I whispered to myself, if she wants war, I'll give her one she'll never forget. That's when I called an investigator. Someone discreet, old school, and relentless. When he picked up, his voice was calm. "You must be desperate to reach me through that line." "I am," I said softly. "My stepmother is trying to destroy me. I need proof. Whatever she's hiding, I want it." He paused. "You've come to the right person." I met the investigator 2 days later in a quiet diner on the edge of town. He introduced himself simply as Reed. No last name. Just Reed. He looked like someone who'd seen too much. The kind of man who didn't waste words. "I don't take domestic cases," he said, sipping coffee. "But yours feels different." I leaned forward. Evelyn forged something. My father would never question my responsibility. "She's twisting his will." Reed studied me carefully. "Then we start where the lies began." Over the next week, Reed moved like a shadow. He asked for my father's phone records, business emails, even old photographs from before he met Evelyn. Meanwhile, Evelyn acted like everything was normal. She hosted dinner parties, smiled at neighbors, even brought me flowers, cheap ones. But behind that perfect smile, she was tightening her grip. One evening, I came home to find my father's old office locked. Evelyn's voice floated down the hall. "I'm sorting through sensitive documents," she called out. "You can see them later." I didn't believe her. That night, when she left for one of her charity galas, I found the spare key. Inside, the air was thick with my father's scent, wood polish and his favorite cologne. I turned on his desk lamp. Files were scattered. Some were missing. But tucked inside a drawer, behind old tax papers, I found a USB drive. I slipped it into my pocket, heart racing. The next day, I met Reed again. We plugged in the drive at his office, a small space filled with old case files and the smell of burnt coffee. Most files were encrypted, but one folder opened, a series of scanned documents, all recent, bank transfers, legal letters, and a contract between Evelyn and a man named Darren Cole. Reed frowned. "Who's Darren?" I shook my head. "No idea." He scrolled further. "He's a private consultant, or at least that's what he tells people. But he's been paid off by multiple widows, who suddenly inherited fortunes." My chest tightened. "So he's her accomplice." Reed nodded slowly. "And I think he's the one spreading those fake messages." That night, Evelyn knocked on my door with a glass of wine in her hand. "You look tired," she said softly. "Maybe you should take a trip." Somewhere far, just until things calmed down, I stared at her, forcing a smile. "You're right. Maybe I should." But inside, I was burning. The moment she left, I texted Reed. "She's getting nervous. We're close." 2 days later, Reed called. His tone was urgent. "Amma, I need you to see this." He'd found security footage. Grainy, but clear enough. Evelyn and Darren meeting at a downtown cafe. Laughing. Passing a brown envelope. Reed paused the video. "She's not just trying to discredit you. She's building evidence. Fake ones. If she succeeds, she can legally take everything my breath caught." "How long until she tries to make it official?" "Soon," he said. "Maybe days." I knew what I had to do. If Evelyn wanted to ruin my name, I'd let her think she was winning. I'd play along, quiet, broken, compliant, until she made her final move. And then I'd pull the ground out from under her. Evelyn started acting sweeter than ever. She'd cook breakfast, compliment my dress, even call me sweetheart. But every word tasted like poison. I knew she was trying to distract me, or control the story. The problem was, I didn't know how she planned to strike next. Reed warned me, she's setting up a scandal. She'll need something public, something to humiliate you. I stayed alert. Everywhere I went, I felt her eyes. Through staff, neighbors, even her so-called friends. Then one morning, I woke up to a storm. My phone was blowing up. Messages, screenshots. My name all over social media. The post claimed I'd been having an affair with a married man. Photos of me, doctored but realistic enough to fool anyone. I froze. There was even a fake text thread where I threatened to ruin the man's marriage. Evelyn appeared at my door, fake shocked. "Amma, what's happening? People are calling me. This is terrible." Her hand covered her mouth, but her eyes glittered. "I didn't do this," I said, voice shaking. "Of course you didn't," she whispered. "But darling, how do we prove it?" That day, I couldn't leave the house. The whispers were everywhere. My father's business partners stopped replying. Even his lawyer wouldn't take my call. Evelyn was winning. When Reed came over, he looked grim. "She's good." The photos were made using real shots of you, combined with stock images. "We can trace it, but it'll take time." "Time I don't have," I muttered. Reed studied me. "Then we'll flip her play." "Let's make her think her plan worked," I frowned. "You mean pretend to give up?" "Exactly. Let her celebrate early. That's when she'll get sloppy." So I vanished online, No posts, no replies, I acted defeated. Stayed in my room, blinds drawn, like I was ashamed. Evelyn couldn't hide her glee. She started wearing my father's jewelry, hosting small dinners again, acting like the lady of the house. I overheard her on the phone one night. "He's finally redoing the will," she whispered. "Yes, after this scandal, Emma's not an option anymore." My stomach clenched. She was really doing it. I texted Reed that night. "She's moving fast," he replied. "Then so do we." The next morning I woke to find a bouquet of white lilies on my table. Evelyn's favorite flowers. There was a card tucked inside. "No hard feelings, darling. Everything happens for a reason." My hands shook as I read it. She was mocking me. In my own house. But what she didn't know was that Reed had just sent me a message. "Meet me at 2. I've got something that'll make her wish she never started this." I stared at the card again, then smiled faintly. It was almost time to start my own game. Reed was waiting for me at the diner. He didn't waste time with greetings. He slid a small flash drive across the table. "What's this?" I asked. "Proof," he said quietly. "She's been working with that man, Darren Cole. We traced their messages, payments, even calls. She wired him over $80,000 in the last 3 months." My heart raced. "To ruin me?" "To erase you," Reed replied. "If your father changes that will now, everything goes to her. But if we prove manipulation or fraud, she's done." I sat back, breathing hard. "So what's our move?" He smiled slightly. "We let her think she's already won. Then we set the trap." That night, I went home like nothing had happened. Evelyn was in the living room with a glass of wine. "You look better, Amma," she said sweetly. "Acceptance suits you." I forced a small laugh. "Maybe you're right." She smiled, satisfied, and turned her attention back to the TV. But I noticed her phone light up beside her. Darren Cole. I knew then that Reed was right. Everything was about to fall into place. Over the next few days, I played the broken victim perfectly. I stopped defending myself online. I avoided my father's lawyer, acting like I'd given up. Meanwhile, Reed was digging deeper. He found a hidden account under Evelyn's maiden name, filled with quiet transfers from my father's business trust. "She's moving his money already," he said one night. "And she doesn't think anyone's watching." I looked at him, jaw tight. "Then she won't see this coming." My plan was simple. Let her finish the performance. When she finally presented the new will, I'd have the real story ready. The night before the signing, Evelyn walked into my room unannounced. She sat on my bed like a caring mother. "You know, Amma," she began softly, "your father just wants peace. If you sign over your share voluntarily, there won't be any more tension." I stared at her. "You mean give you everything?" She smiled. "Think of it as doing what's right for the family." I kept my face calm. "I'll think about it." She patted my knee, stood, and left. The moment she closed the door, I whispered, "Reed, she's moving tomorrow." He met me early the next morning with coffee and that same confident half smile. "She doesn't know we've been recording her calls," he said, "or that Darren Cole's facing fraud charges in 2 states. "What?" I blinked. "He cracked last night. We cornered him with evidence. He admitted everything. Evelyn hired him to fake an affair. Plant stories and forge signatures." My pulse pounded in my ears. "Did you record it?" "Every word," Reed said. "We'll play it when she brings your father the new will." I grinned for the first time in weeks. "Then let's end this." The air that morning felt heavy. Even the light seeping through the curtains seemed nervous. I sat in my father's old study. Evelyn had turned it into her office since he passed. A mahogany table stood between us, polished and cold. On it lay a single brown envelope. Evelyn smiled like a woman about to announce her victory. "This is it, Amma," she said softly. "The closure we both need." She slid the envelope toward me. Inside was a printed will. Supposedly, my father's. But I'd seen enough forgeries in Reed's evidence folder to know this one was fake. Her handwriting was everywhere. Smooth, careful, too perfect. I picked it up slowly. "This says everything goes to you," I murmured. Evelyn folded her arms. "Your father wanted stability. You've always been too emotional for business, dear." That line almost made me laugh. Too emotional. I was standing right in front of the woman who paid someone to ruin my life, and I hadn't so much as flinched. I looked up at her. "You're right, Evelyn. I've been emotional, but not anymore." Her brow furrowed slightly. "What's that supposed to mean?" Before I could answer, Reed stepped into the doorway. He wore a black jacket and that calm, steady face that always made people underestimate him. Evelyn's eyes widened. "Who are you?" He smiled politely. "Private investigator." "You've been busy, Mrs. Hargrove." Her composure cracked for the first time. "Excuse me?" Reed dropped a small recorder onto the table. A button clicked. From the speaker came Darren Cole's voice. Unmistakable, panicked, trembling. "She made me do it. She said if I ruined Amma's reputation, she'd pay double. She gave me the drafts of the fake will herself. Please, I swear I didn't mean to." Evelyn froze. Color drained from her face. Her fingers twitched, like she wanted to grab the device but couldn't move. "You recorded—" "Oh, we recorded everything," I cut in. "Every call, every transfer, every whisper." Reed slid a second folder forward. Bank statements, wire transfers, voice logs, her perfect little empire, all mapped out in black and white. She tried to smile. "You can't prove any of this is real." Reed tilted his head. "That's the thing about digital evidence, ma'am. It's always real." I leaned forward. "You thought I'd just sit back and let you destroy everything my father built? You thought you could erase me?" Her mask broke completely. "You're a spoiled, ungrateful—" "Stop," I snapped. My voice shook, but it was power this time, not fear. "You took advantage of his death to feed your greed. You lied, manipulated, paid strangers to drag my name through the mud. And for what? To live in a house you didn't build?" Her eyes glistened. "You don't know what it was like. He left you everything, Amma. Everything. I had nothing. I just wanted to steal what wasn't yours." I finished quietly. For a moment the room went silent except for the ticking clock. Then Reed broke it. "The authorities already have copies of this evidence. Darren's confession included your name and details. It's only a matter of time." Evelyn's breath caught. You sent it?" I nodded. "Before we walked in here." She sank into the chair, trembling. The mask of control that once made her untouchable was gone. All that was left was guilt, fear, and the faintest trace of regret. "I never wanted it to go this far," she whispered. I stood. "But you did." As Reed and I walked out, she didn't call after us, didn't beg, didn't curse, just silence. Outside, the wind felt different, cooler, freer. Reed turned to me. "You sure you're okay?" I looked at him and smiled for the first time in what felt like years. "I'm better than okay." She tried to bury me. He raised a brow. "And?" "I learned to grow from the dirt." The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. News alerts, emails, missed calls. The first headline I saw nearly stopped my heart. "Socialite Evelyn Hargrove, under investigation for fraud and forgery." It was everywhere. Her face, once picture perfect, now sat under words like deception, inheritance scam, forgery. I scrolled slowly, my breath shaky but calm. Reed had done it. He'd passed everything to a trusted journalist before we even confronted her. There was no stopping the story now. By noon, the house was surrounded by reporters. I watched from the upstairs window as they shouted her name, shoving microphones through the gate. Evelyn didn't come out. The same woman who used to host garden parties for the city's elite was now hiding behind closed curtains. I felt no joy, just a strange emptiness. Winning didn't feel the way I thought it would. Reed called. They're questioning her today. They have the bank records and Darren's statement. I closed my eyes. So it's really over? He paused. Almost. He came by that evening with 2 cups of coffee. We sat in silence on the back porch, the same one my father used to sit on when life felt simple. She'll probably try to claim you framed her, he said finally. I know. But the evidence will speak for itself, I finished. Reed nodded. You handled this better than most people would have, Amma. You didn't burn the world down, even when you could have. I smiled faintly. Maybe I just learned that real revenge isn't about fire. It's about peace. He chuckled. You sound like someone who's about to disappear. Maybe I was. The house didn't feel like home anymore. Every room echoed with memories that no longer belonged here. I packed slowly that night. Only the things that mattered. Photos, a few clothes, my father's wristwatch. When I reached the study, I stopped. Evelyn's desk was empty now. Just one item sat on it, a letter addressed to me. My heart thudded. The handwriting was hers. I opened it carefully. Amma, you won. I was wrong, but I loved him too, in my own broken way. I don't expect forgiveness. Just don't let this house die like we did. I stood there for a long time. For the first time, I almost believed her. I left the next morning, before the sun rose. Reed helped me load the last bag into his car. So, where to? He asked. I looked ahead, the road stretching into a quiet kind of freedom. Somewhere new. Somewhere I don't have to remember her face. He smiled. Then let's make that happen. As we drove away, the house faded in the rearview mirror. Grand, cold, and full of ghosts. For the first time since my father's death, I wasn't scared of what came next. I whispered to myself, barely audible, over the hum of the engine. She tried to ruin me for money, but she ended up losing herself instead. Reed glanced at me. What was that? Nothing, I said, smiling softly. Just closure.